everybody. My name is Patrick Chanezon. Thanks for coming for this session, which will be about open social. So if you look surprised and you were expecting YouTube, there's been some mix-up in the panels. YouTube session is in is 14A, just next to here on the right. And yeah, bye-bye, sorry. You don't know what you're missing, you know? So, hello everybody again. So my name is Patrick Chanezon. I'm a developer advocate with Google about open social. And so I'm going to, today we're going to tell you about open social. So first, a little bit of intro. The goal of open social is to make the web better by making it social. The problem is, what does social mean? There are lots of definitions. I'm pretty sure the German definition of social may be different from the French one, and a sociologist will have a different point of view than a political person. So in that kind of case, when there are notions that are complex and have many different meanings, I find it useful to go back to kids and ask them what that means. So in this case, I asked my daughter, Eliette, what do you do with your friends? And so she came up with a bunch of drawings. We look at each other, like looking at pictures. We're talking, lots of communication there. We're laughing. All these apps where you throw sheeps at your friends come in mind. We help each other. Collaboration is a big theme. You're collaborating with your friends. We read together. There are many apps like Dig, for example, where you share bookmarks, or Shelfari, where you share your taste in books. We do projects together, collaboration again. So all these are activities that we're doing in a social context in the real world that are moving to the web right now. But there's another aspect of social, which is illustrated by my second daughter, Charlotte, here. She's doing something to it to this plush toy, Raoul. And Raoul is what sociologists call a social object. So essentially, Raoul is in her school, and every weekend some of the parents take Raoul at home, some of the kids take Raoul at home, and we do some fun stuff with him, take pictures, they write a story, and then she takes Raoul back with the pictures to her friends, and then they're socializing around the object. And actually, since we're in Munich, and we're just after lunch, so it will be a good transition. There's a very German social object that, I don't know if you know that, that's Lebkuchen. So I'm just going to open it, and you're going to pass it in the alley. So just don't take one full for each of you. So there are a bunch of objects, essentially, that are social in nature, around which we socialize. And this leads us to this guy in the middle there that you can see on the picture. His name is Jerry Angestrom, and he doesn't look very social, but he's actually socializing on his cell phone with his two friends that are just next to him. It's a little bit extreme, but I'll explain the context. Jerry was the founder of a company called Jaiku. It's a mobile social network, and it's been bought by Google, and so now he's working in our team. And last year, or a year and a half ago, he gave this very interesting talk that you can find at this URL about how to make a social network successful. And this is one of the most interesting talks I've heard about social networks. And the reason for it is that Jerry's training is as a sociologist. And he's the one that explains that in order for your social network to work well, to be successful, you need to identify what is the object you're trying to socialize. And if you look at many of the very successful social apps out there, usually you'll find one or two objects, and usually they kind of concentrate on one object. So you have apps that socialize pictures or movies or your taste in books or things like that. So he has a bunch of advice, like once you have found what your object is, you need to determine what the verbs are that you can use upon these objects. For example, on Flickr, it would be tag, and tag and upload. And if you think about these verbs, once you've identified them when you're building your app, these are things that will be very prominent in the user interface of the app. Then how can people share these objects? Each of them need to have a unique URL. Flickr initially didn't do that, and so it was only successful when they started having a unique URL per picture. What is the gift in the invitation? When you're inviting a friend to install a social app, what's the gift in the invitation text? I'm pretty sure many of you have received these emails. Please click on this link and fill a 10-page form because I have trouble synchronizing my address book. Usually I just click on spam because there's no gift for me in there. So when you're building a social app, you should think about what's the gift in the invitation, and invitations are one way to get your app to be deployed by many people. And then there's the business model issue, but we'll talk about that in more details. So the question today is, how do you socialize objects online without having to recreate a whole new social network infrastructure? And I have a question to ask. Among you today, who is at least managing their list of friends in at least one social network? Yeah, that's pretty good. We're around like 80–90%. And that's kind of common today. So if today I wanted to share these slides, there's a site that does that called SlideShare. And I use it extensively, but I never invited my friends. And if I would ask you to become my friends on SlideShare in order to talk about these slides, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't create a profile there because you manage your friends on other sites already. And so that's why we need APIs. So when you manage your list of friends and your profile information on an existing social network, the social network exposes application programming interfaces, which is functions that application developer can take advantage of to get the list of friends of the user, get some profile information about the user, and when the user is doing something interesting in the application, post to what is called the activity stream or the news feed. Like Patrick uploaded a new picture, and then all my friends have access to that. So this social network exposes all these social functionalities that allow developers to create social applications through APIs. The big issue is if every different social site had different APIs, developers would just develop for the top 2 networks and that would be it. And so what we would see would be a kind of a very few, very specialized applications running on the top networks. And if you think about it, it really reminds me of what network programming was before Tim Berners-Lee created open standards HTML and HTTP. So with OpenSocial, it's a common layer that is standard to define these calls to get the list of friends, access the profile, and post to the activity stream. And so when the developer is creating an application that leverages these standard interfaces, the application is able to run on most social networks who have implemented it. So I told you already the few areas where OpenSocial, the few functional areas for the OpenSocial API are pretty few. There's activities, posting to the activity stream of the user, people and profile, like who are my friends, who are the friends of the user, and what are their profile information. And then there's a persistence layer as well that I'll talk in more details about, which is a very simple persistence layer that allows developers to create applications in JavaScript only without owning their own server. And this one is not mandatory for developers to use. In terms of reach, OpenSocial was introduced last November. The specification itself was really solidified in January. And in April, the first social network started shipping OpenSocial to all their users. So it started with MySpace, Hi5, and Orkut. And in the duration of a few months, we went from 0 users to a reach of 375 million users. So that's been a tremendous growth. There are many, many networks, social networks that are either part of OpenSocial or have declared their interest into joining the spec. So for a developer, that's why you should be interested into open social. If you have an idea of an application that is social in nature, open social is really the standard you should code to in order to reach the maximum number of users. So where is open social live today? It's live to users in many containers like MySpace, Orkut, High5, Freebar. Friendster is one that's big in Asia and that shipped recently. And it's also, there are also some European networks in there. So we have Netlog and Hives, who are European. Netlog is going to present their offering today later in this talk. And we have also some developer sandboxes, which is some networks usually when they implement open social, they start by shipping a sandbox, which is a development environment where a developer can play with the app. And usually after a few months, they deploy the apps that were in that sandbox to all their users. And so there are a few networks that are that have developer sandbox today. And we'll see three of them that are, actually two of them that are European that are going to come talk about it. Viadeo, which is a professional social network, and that announced their sandbox last week at Google Developer Day in Paris. So it's the first worldwide professional network who shipped open social. So that will give, I expect there will be many different kind of applications running on these professional networks. And there's a local Listen, which is born in Munich, who announced their sandbox this morning during the Code Lab. So they're going to come announce that today as well. And so, so Netlog, Viadeo, and so there are essentially, when you look at this list, what's interesting is that there are many different types of networks, and it goes from a geography perspective, it's really worldwide. So there are lots of other social sites who have expressed their interest into shipping open social, and the big ones are Yahoo and AOL, and they haven't shipped that yet, but there should be some action in this space in the next 6 months. So what is open social in terms of technology? The API itself is in JavaScript, so that's the API that is available today. Then there's a REST API. So the JavaScript API allows you to create a social application that is going to run in the context of the social site, in the context of the container. I'm going to show you a demo of how that works. There's also a REST API, which is pretty recent. It was specified last summer, and it shipped on some of the social networks like High5, I think, and WebON. Only 2 weeks ago. So that's very recent. That's something you can start playing with on some of the networks. And the REST API allows you for a different kind of use case where on your site, you're just pulling the social graph data or pushing to the activity stream without running in the context of the social network. It's very useful for building applications on cell phone, for example, that would be social in nature. And then the last thing is there's a new spec for a different programming model for open social apps, which is based on templates. That's been proposed in the mailing list recently, and that you can start experimenting with. There's a prototype in the reference implementation for open social. So the JavaScript API is based on another spec that was by Google, but that was open source since then, called the Gadgets API. So essentially, you're writing a little XML file with some JavaScript and HTML in there, and the file is pulled by the social network and served by the social network itself, and that's what your application is. There are two versions of the spec, the one from last January, which is called 0.7, and it's live in most of the social network who implemented open social, and 0.8 was just finalized in the reference implementation like last August, and only, I think, 2 social networks ship it today. So the REST protocol, I told you about that. There are some client libraries in many different languages, and if you're building mobile apps, that's really what you want to take a look at. So templates, the big idea about templates is that building a consistent UI in open social apps that is consistent with the container is kind of hard today. So usually you have the look of the app, and the app is running inside of the container, so it has maybe a slightly different look and feel. And it's not, so templates kind of help you with that. You just give you a few tags and it will bring you a list of your friends or things like that. So you can try them at these URLs. And all these presentations are going to be available on the Google Developer Day site in the next few days. So you can find these links again. So Open Social is it's actually an open standard. It belongs to the Open Social Foundation that was created by a few social sites like Yahoo, MySpace, and Google. So all the intellectual property of the spec belongs to this organization, this foundation. And the goal of the foundation is to make sure that the spec stays open. Now, the specs themselves are evolving constantly. We just finished 0.8 recently, and people are discussing 0.9 right now. And if you're interested into that, all the discussions are public. So if you have some opinions about what the API should look like or what you would need in your social app to make it more useful, then it's really time to chime in the public forum where the spec is discussed. That's a note on compliance. Open Social is a standard, it's a specification. So in order to make sure that what we call a container, which is a social site, implements Open Social correctly, there's a compliance gadget. So when you try a new container, first thing you could do is you take the URL of that gadget and you paste it in the sandbox of the social site and you see if it respects the spec. So that's what it looks like in Orkut. Essentially, it's trying to exercise all the API calls that are in the API and make sure that the response complies with the spec. And there's a matrix about compliance of the various containers that you can find at this URL. Portable contacts. There's been a lot of talk about data portability recently, and I'm always asked the question, how does Open Social relate to data portability? And there are a series of several Googlers are actually working in the data portability.org project, and the goal of data portability is to create a set of standards that work together in order to enable data portability. And the first real artifact that I saw coming out of that is the Portable Contacts API, a recent API that was proposed, I think, by Joseph Smar from Plaxo. And what he chose to do there is, instead of reinventing a new schema for portable contacts, he just reused the model that we're using in Open Social for the profile information, so that you can reuse the same kind of libraries when you're writing a portable contacts application or an Open Social application. Another interesting technology that's related to Open Social is called Caja. Caja is an open source project initially by Google, but MySpace is contributing to it as well, especially test cases. And the goal of Caja is to bring capabilities-based security to JavaScript. So what that means is that when you're taking some JavaScript that's been written by an external developer and you run it in the context of your container, you're exposing your users to some code that comes from someone else. So usually there's a whitelisting process for applications, but still you never know what could happen. Also, as it is designed right now, an Open Social container will serve the gadget in an iframe, so it isolates the JavaScript that runs in there, for example, from the cookies of the user and also from the rest of the page. The goal of Caja is to build it means box in Spanish, and it's to build a box around the JavaScript that comes from these Open Social applications by rewriting all the JavaScript. So essentially, it's building a big parse tree of the JavaScript and then adding statements in there, removing the statements that are not allowed, and enabling the JavaScript in there to only do a certain set of things that it has the right to do, or that the container decided it has the right to do. And the end goal of Caja is to be able to get rid of the iframe in the future, so that you could take the JavaScript and then serve it inline. But because it would have been rewritten by Caja, for example, when it's trying to access the DOM API, it would be able to only access the subnodes of the node where it is at, and only a certain restricted set of methods in there. So if you're interested into language security, this is really a fascinating project to look at. In terms of open social, Caja is not a mandatory part of open social, but it's recommended. So many containers like Orkut and MySpace and Yahoo are going to use it. So open social is a standard for everyone. I'm going to show you a little bit of code and show you an example of an application. So this is the tutorial, the example we're using in the tutorial, and it kind of shows you the various kind of requests that you can use in open social. So here we are building, we have a data request object. Most JavaScript APIs are asynchronous in nature. So usually you build some kind of request, send it to the server, passing it a callback function, and then you continue doing your stuff. And when the request comes back, your callback function is called. In order to batch all these requests, we build this data request object that you can see here. And then in this object, we fill it with some data-specific or type-specific requests. So fetch person request is about fetching the profile of one person. Fetch people request fetches a list of friends. And the constant here is viewer. In open social, there are two roles, viewer and owner. If you look at my page, and I installed an application in my profile, and you look at my page, I'm the owner of the application, and you're the viewer. Sometimes viewer equal owner, and you can test for that in your application. So here, essentially, I'm going to get the profile of the viewer and get his list of friends. And then I call, and you see a second parameter, which is a key. And this is the key that will be used in the returned object. So my callback function onload friends here is going to be called back with the result object. And in the result object, the result of the fetch person request will be under the key viewer. And the fetch people request result will be under the key viewer friends. So that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at the callback function, onload friends, I receive a response. I get the data for viewer and for viewer friends. From viewer, I can get the display name property. And if you look at the open social documentation, you'll see all the methods and fields for these objects. And for viewer friends, it's a list of friends. So here I can iterate through it, and then I pass each of the people that are in there to a function, an anonymous function here, where I'm just going to display it in HTML in a list tag. And that's it. When I'm done with that, I just dump that on the screen. So I'm going to show you what that looks like in Orkut. Oh, actually, I should go to the sandbox. Oops. Oops. Yeah, so that's a gifts giving application. So part one is the code that I just showed you, where, and that shows you how an open social application works. Here you see there's the Chrome or the UI from the container itself. And here there's an iframe that's open to my application. And in my application, I just ask for the list of friends of the current user, which is myself. And he's just listing the names of my friends. That's all there is to it. So it's very, very simple. Activities. What we call the activity stream, when you go to, if you go to my profile, in most social networks have this notion of activity stream. If you go to the profile of someone, you see usually, oh, is it in the, it's in the home page maybe. Homepage or profile of someone, usually you see this list of things that they have seen or that they have done recently. So here are the updates from my friends. So my friend Lane here, actually is coding an application. So this comes from an application with a very cryptic activity there. While this guy just updated his country. So that's the activity stream. And OpenSocial gives you access to that. So you can post events there. You can post, eventually if I post a picture, you can post a thumbnail of it. And so what the activities, and all the patterns of calling for OpenSocial are always the same, which is here I'm building an activity object, and then I create a request, create activity with that activity in it, and then I post it with a callback. Persistence is it's a very small API that lets you store key value pairs for your users in a limited amount, like something like 10 kilobytes per user. And it allows you to create an application without owning a server, because you don't need to call back your server in that case. You just use the social network's persistence layer to store all the data. So that's kind of useful for small applications or developers who have an application with not much data to manage and don't want to have to manage their server. The code looks like really the same kind of things. Here are a bunch of resources, and you can find them in the slides. Hosting. So when you build a serious app where you don't use the persistence layer, you want to have your own backend. And for that, there are many options. You can host your site using one of the services like EC2 or Giant. With Sun have an offering for OpenSocial developers where they have free hosting for you up to a certain level. And Google App Engine, same thing. It's free hosting up to 5 million page views. Zembly has an interesting offering. It's a spin-off from Sun, and they have a whole development environment that's hosted where you code your front-end and your business logic in JavaScript, and it's hosted by them. So that's something to take a look at. I had a demo last week, and it was pretty cool. We have a code lab that we're giving right now. So after this session, if you want to code a little bit, you can join us there. Or you can do it by yourself, where we show you how to do an App Engine backend for an OpenSocial application. Monetization is super important. Like, how do you monetize your app? There's been a few models that we've seen outside. So either using ads from ad networks, usually in your Canvas view. There are two kind of views: the profile view when you're on the profile page, and Canvas view where you have the whole real estate on the page. Brand advertising. Some brands are actually paying developers to create branded apps for themselves. Or sometimes it's agencies, and then the agencies are looking for developers who know how to build these apps. A good example on Orkut would be MTV Road Warriors or something like that. And Nike has a yoga TV app about soccer. So it's kind of the beginning of that. Selling virtual or real goods. One of the most interesting companies I've seen there, they let you build some photo albums and you share them with your friends, so it's all free and it's all virtual. But when your friends like the photo album, they can purchase it. They can purchase a physical copy of it, and that's where the business model is. So there's lots of good stuff to do there. Free to freemium means your service is free for most of the users, and then for a small percentage of them who want to use it more intensively, you just have a premium offering for them. Referrals is very important for e-commerce. One of the first applications that was using it was an application about sharing books. I think it was Shelfari. So when you were in there, you would say which books you liked, and you would look at your friends' taste in books, and when you saw a book you were interested in on one of your friends' profile, you would say, yeah, I'm interested in it. I want to read this one. And then he would give you a link to Amazon to buy it with his referral code in there. And so he would make money out of it. And what happened is that this app is like, I think, 1 year old. And last summer, Amazon ended up buying them. So there's a very fast consolidation in this space. So I think this aspect is going to develop more and more in the next year. And then virtual currency, and you'll see that Netlog is going to explain you what they're doing in this field, which is pretty new and very interesting. There are a few success stories with OpenSocial. My favorite is BuddyPoke. I'm just going to give you a demo of BuddyPoke because I just can't resist the urge. So Buddy Poke is a very simple, fun application where essentially you can poke your friends and it's moving and all that. And what's interesting about it is that it's built on top, his backend is App Engine. And so so he had a few users and it was pretty successful. But then when, so you're giving bear hugs. So I'm just going to poke one of my friends. Jeff Huber. He's the VP in charge of Open Social. I'm going to give him a bear hug. So Jeff is going to see in his activity stream that I just gave him a bear hug. So that's Buddy Poke. What's fun about it is that when Orkut shipped Open Social to all its users this summer, where's my slides? Buddy Poke was tremendously successful, and so his curves of number of users went like this. And usually when that happens to you, your server melts, you have to redo your application to scale, and he came up with 8 million installs in very quickly. And so what he just had to do is just to ask the App Engine PMs, please give me more quota. And so his app scaled really well. And another interesting aspect for monetization is that he's doing $1 or $2 click per mil in terms of for the ads that he's serving in there. So there's ways to make money with these apps, even if they don't seem very serious to you. And Photobuzz is another example. But now I'd like to leave the room for all the European open social containers who are here today and who are going to explain how they implemented open social and what they're doing with it. Christoph?
Yeah, hi, my name is Christoph Kaleschke. I'm developer at Lokalisten.de, a social network here in Munich. At the Code Lab, I was very surprised how many new Lokalisten. So may I ask who knows Lokalisten here in this room? Oh, quite good. So you might ask, what has Lokalisten to do with open social? Till now, nothing. But as of today, we have a open social container, and we have a developer platform for open social. So let me tell you a little bit about, first of all, the Lokalisten, then our developer platform. And if you're interested in developing an application for us, let me show you how your application will be integrated into our platform. First of all, some facts and figures. Lokalisten was launched in 2005. Here in Munich, it was founded by 5 friends who just wanted to manage their friends and communicate with them. But then it really exploded here in Munich and spread out all over Germany. And in the meantime, we have 2.3 million members and 1.2 billion page views a month. We're a network of friends, so we're not interested in business contacts as Xing is, for example, but we're interested in friendship and communication with friends. If you're interested in the other figures, just have a look at them. Okay, what is the developer platform? It's available at developer.lokalisten.de as of today, so have a look at it. It's based on OpenSocial 0.8. Almost, as I said on the slides, there are some features of this specification that are not implemented, but we're at it and we want to do that. It's based on the reference implementation on Apache Shindig. So you as a developer, and I hope you will do so, you should go there, create applications, code them there, and most importantly, test them. After that, you can publish also on this developer platform, and we have a check on your application and then put it online. Well, not at the moment, but we're working on it. The developer platform is live, but applications on the platform are not live, but we're expecting that soon, so in the next weeks or month, let's say. So it would be a good choice for you to already start to develop, and then you'll be on the initial application list. To motivate you a bit, I want to show you where your application would appear on our platform. So there will be an application list, and users can browse through this application list, find your application, and look at some details, and then hopefully add it to their profiles. The next slide is the profile. So if you added an application to your profile, you have the application on your profile page. That's not a big surprise, but also when you go to a different profile of a different user, and this user added the application, then you can see it there as well and test it. And if you like it, you can add it to your own profile. And that's a good means of spreading your application so that many of our users use your application. There will also be a home view, but we only want to have very special applications on the home view, mainly because of performance reasons. But there will be some. The problem with those two views is that you only have a very limited space for your application because it appears on the profile page with many other functionalities. On the Canvas page, you'll have the complete content area for your application. So there you can use the complete space to build up your functionality. We already talked about this activity feed. Patrick mentioned that already. We have that as Localisten as well. And that is another very good means for spreading your application because first you can write in this activity feed yourself. So your application can write in the activity feed and your friends can read what happened. And also when you add an application, your friends will see. So this is another way of spreading your application. So this is, in a very short overview, how your application could appear on our platform. And now I want to show you how the developer platform looks like. Patrick, can you help me for a second? Because I'm not so familiar with the Mac.
Sure. It's, you just Control Tab.
Okay, thank you.
Let me switch you to another window.
Yeah, I'll take that one.
Yeah.
So the URL is developer Localisten.de. Okay, so there's a lot of documentation also about all the open social stuff. But if you want to create an application, you have to log in. You use your regular Localisten account. And here I have some demo applications. If you want to create a new application, you just click on New Application and then insert some detail data. I show you this one here. So you enter a name, a description, some pictures that later on will show in the application list. And if you want to test, you go on test. And now that's the same code that Patrick showed. That's the list of friends of the owner. In this case, it's me. And if you can also switch, for example, so that you're not the owner. Also, if you want to check if your application looks good on the profile view, then you switch over to the profile view. So I hope this is a good means for you for developing application, and I hope to talk to you and bring your good ideas to our platform. Thank you.
Wow, thanks, Christoph. That was great. Let me see. Yeah. Okay, so then after that we have Matthias from Zing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Patrick. My name is Matthias Häsel from Zing. I'm the technical product manager at Zing who is responsible for Open Social. And today I will give you a short overview on how Open Social will look like on Zing. Maybe first, this is a disclaimer we have to insert into each presentation, because we're, as you can see here, the first publicly listed Web 2.0 company. So this is why we always need some legal stuff. Okay, some information on Zing. We are the European market leader in business networking. Our main target group is business people worldwide. Currently, we have more than 6 million members. 500,000 of these members are paying members, premium members who have kind of superior search functionality, for instance, and can write public messages, private messages on our platform. By the way, who of you is a Zing member? Just a short empirical study. This should be nearly 100%. That's great. Zing is available in 16 different languages, which is quite interesting for Open Social, because you always have the question whether to include all these 16 languages in your application. And the answer is, of course, no. We are planning to start with maybe 2 or 3 languages, which is English, of course, German, and Spanish. Some interesting point is that we have weekly software releases of our platform. The platform is developed in Perl and Ruby on Rails, so we have different parts which are developed in Perl, some others in Ruby. This is done by, well, a lot of developers. In total, we have 150 employees, which are located in our Hamburg headquarters, but we also have offices in Istanbul, Barcelona, and Beijing. Yeah, why Open Social? This is a good question for us. Of course, there are 2 answers to this question. The first one is that we will give our members access to many new social applications and really cool ideas which can come up with Open Social. But the second very important aspect is that we also will give application developers the access to our social graph data. So this is the combination. However, as Patrick already said, Open Social is somehow different in business networks, and that includes Zing. Why is that so? Well, mainly there are 3 reasons. The first one is that Open Social applications at Zing will have to bring value to business people. So it's not about gaming, it's not about romance applications and things like that. It's even not about buddy poke or something like that. But it's required to bring value to business people. Second aspect is that the apps will need to be compatible with our current business model. That is clear. And the third thing, and this is one of our core value propositions, that applications must adhere to our data protection policy, because this is one of the main things that our members will see from us. Let's have a quick view here on some screens we have prepared. Of course, we will have a canvas view, which you can see here. The canvas view is the main view of the gadget. Quite a lot of space for the gadget developers to put in all the main functionality here. However, we also will have a home view, and our home view is somehow specific to many other networks, because this is very similar to the iGoogle approach, where you have very different, distinct gadgets that bring together all the information that is coming from your business network. And what you can see here on this slide is also, which is also quite important, is the What's New in My Network tab here on the top. And similar to Lokalisten, as Christoph just explained, of course, open social applications will have the ability to write into that stream so that you can see what your contacts are doing with their installed open social apps. While in the home view, indeed, as Patrick said, I think the viewer is the same person as the owner. We also will have a profile view, and in that case, of course, the viewer is not the same person as the owner. In that case, I'm the owner of the profile, but you visiting my profile as a viewer will be able to see what I'm doing with my open social applications. And of course here also again the privacy and data protection stuff. Of course our members will be able to decide whether some open social apps will be displayed here in their profiles or not. Okay, what's next with Open Social at Xing? Our plan is to launch Open Social in the first half year of 2009. The plan is that we will launch with a wide listed selection of third-party applications. And that means that we are currently looking for dedicated partners, on the one hand, dedicated business partners, but we are also looking for cool ideas that mainly come from the community, and the community is mainly you and the talented developers. And I think this is also a place where you, as the developers, can come into the game. And this is why we will have something like a developer pitch, the Open Social Developer Pitch 2008. And the idea here is that you hand in a concept proposal and mock-up to Xing. We will then have a selection of the best ideas. And we'll do a workshop where you can present your idea to the Xing management. And the plan is then to team up with our engineering team for implementation. And teaming up with our team is not only for implementation, but we also can discuss some aspects like Patrick was talking about monetization. That's important on our platform, of course. And we can think about things like revenue sharing and aspects like this. As you have seen, Open Social, and especially on a business network, I think offers a lot of business value that can be created here in that context. One very good question that I was asked this morning is, well, who guarantees that I will hand in an idea at Xing, and you just say, well, we already had this idea, and then we create the application ourselves. I don't think that this is really a danger, because talking about this developer pitch and talking about collaboration between open social containers and developers is, of course, on ideas, but it's not the ideas which are here the most important thing. I think what is more important than ideas is the expertise and the will that a developer has to bring his idea to fruition. And I think this is something that we don't really have as Zing, but which is inside the open social community. So if you're interested in this pitch, there are two ways to deal with this. One way is just to write me an email. Here's my email address. Just write me an email, then we can talk about your idea and see how things can go on. And the second idea, and this is even better because we are all here now in Munich today, just come over to me, to our engineers, and let's have a chat on how things could look like on Zing and Open Social. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Matthias. Okay, and now we have Volker or Toon from Netlog.
Hi, I'm Toon Koppens from Netlog. I'm CTO and co-founder, and I will shortly present to you what Netlog is and what we do with Open Social and what we are planning to do. So the obvious question is, of course, to you guys, who does not know Netlog? Okay. So who does know some others? Okay, that's good. Well, actually, we are a social network, quite mainstream, focused on Europe. Our biggest markets are which I will come on to later, are the Benelux, Italy, Turkey, Germany too, but mainly Switzerland and Austria. Also Slovenia, the Nordics, and Spain and Portugal. But this is how Netlog looks. It's a quite fun social network where your profile is central. And also, of course, we have a log, which is an activity stream where you can see everything that happens with your friends. Of course, you can do shouts, which mean what you are doing, what you're up to, a quick way of blogging, micro-blogging to your friends. You have a complete inbox system with threaded views. You also have a chat, one-to-one chat, no group chat at the moment, for direct contact with your friends who are simultaneously online, which you know chat, of course. This is the homepage of Netlog with a direct integration towards all those different things, the pictures of your friends, your log, and some more things. A lot of community. Netlog is all about community because we have a unique localization technology, which means that you will see if you want to meet new people, you can get direct feedback from what they are doing, what kind of content they uploaded, like blogs, clans, videos they did. So exploring is quite central in Netlog. What does it mean in numbers? Currently we have more than 35 million unique members, mainly continental Europe. Actually, in the German-speaking markets, we have over 3 million unique members, which results in more than 6 billion page views per month. And this is, of course, only possible by going quite deep in localization, and localization means languages. And for us, it is core of the core technology of the company is being able to translate and translate fast and update the translations. Something I will come on later on, which we offer to you guys as developers. Currently, we're available in more than 23 different languages, which you see here listed. So applications. First, some screenshots how it looks. This is the infamous Buddy Poke application on Netlog in the German version. This is the canvas view, so the big view where you have quite a lot of space to do what you want to really add value and to create your application. Of course, you also have the profile view. The profile view is where your profile is as a user. A user can choose to insert different blocks, which is, by example, your application, like here, the Buddy Poke application. So their visitors can see those blocks and interact with the application directly on the profile view. It's also, and this will be soon made available on the start page, on the home page, where you can, as a user, choose to have different application blocks inserted into this. This is, by example, a screenshot of the Gmail application. To discover new applications, users can browse in a directory of applications. This is a screenshot of a very limited amount of applications currently online. So this is a huge opportunity to insert new applications. Those applications, the activity people are doing gets inserted in a different application log. And of course, also, people can be very social with those applications. They can recommend it to friends. They can really comment and tell others about it. Now, for the whitelisting, you heard about it a couple of times today. What do we think is important for applications? Applications need to really add value to the user. We are not a believer of those crappy, spammy applications. What we want to achieve, and I'm sure you also want to do the same thing, is creating an application that really works out for a user. And for a user to work out, what we think is needed is it's fully integrated. And fully integrated means no external login should be needed. You can really use the Open Social API and our user base to just automatically log it in. You know that. No external links is also something that's important. The user hates to just leave a site and come back, and it doesn't work out. An application needs to be an application. Of course, also in the profile view, because there is where the application is happening, there is no ads, but there are other ways of monetization, which I'll explain later. No spamming speaks for itself. And also, we are a big believer, it makes a difference to localize and translate your application in all those different languages. And we can help you with that. So localization, what we have done is we have created some techniques which I will explain later on. It's quite easy for you to just create your application in one of those 23 different languages, and we will do everything for you, even quite fast. It can go as fast as 24 hours, where we provide all those different translations, so you can deploy your cool application on all those different markets and all those different places where Netlog is active. How it works is quite easy. We are using the Open Social API for this. You have the opportunity to provide template files, which are XML files and containing the language strings, which gets just in our system, in our localization, in our translation system. Our translators will translate this, and it gets inserted back inside your application XML. Of course, this is all cool, you have your own ID, but how do I make money? How can I benefit from this? And for this, we do allow quite some things. We have branding, you have also co-branding, sponsorships. Patrick talked about the examples on Orchid, but you can do quite a lot of this. Of course, you have to do it yourself. You have to go out to advertisers and find those things. Maybe not the most exciting thing to do for the developer. So what we do also have, we have 100% revenue from vertical rectangle or a skyscraper on your application page. So not in the canvas, but on those areas, which means nice revenue if you have high traction. But also, and this is the most important or interesting thing about this, is the credit economy. Users on Netlog, they use credits. And credits represent a value in euros. And they can use it, and they are used to use it. And this we made available through extensions on the Open Social API for your application. So basically what it comes down to, you can really do things like charge credits for an app installation, by example. You create something cool and you say, okay, I want this now and I pay X credits for this. Or you can just say, I have certain features, some special premium usage. I want to have my users paying for this, or just buying items, or go crazy with it. You can really go a long way with this. So this is the virtual currency. This is basically it. Our developer pages are available on this URL with the Go developer, and also the sandbox is available. Everything is live right now, so you can try it out and do some cool things.
Thanks, Toon. And now, actually, the other professional network leader in Europe, Viadeo.
Thanks, Patrick. Well, my name is Ariel Messas. I'm VP Engineering at Viadeo. I think that here in Germany, after what we saw just before, if I tell you about Xing, you of course know what is Xing, and you probably use Xing. But to make it simple, let me just say that Viadeo is the Xing European competitor. I won't ask you if how many of you guys know Viadeo, as Matthias, my friend from Xing, did before, because
I will be obliged to conclude that more than 200% after what is said before are actually using Viadio. Well, more seriously, if you want to manage your contacts, your network, your German contacts and network, of course, I will recommend you to use your Xing account. But if you need to extend it to European contacts and to European network, and of course Chinese, I will invite you to join and use Viadio account. Well, more seriously, I've just said that we are with Xing competitors, but in fact, I think that from your point of view, from an open social developer point of view, you'd rather consider Viadio and other professional social networks not as competitors, but more as partners. Why? I think simply because if you intend to develop an open social application and you want to target professional market, you will want to leverage on both Xing and Viadio network, because once your application is developed, you will be able to spread it among all the networks. That's why I think that we, with Xing, should be considered as partners in the open social adventure. Well, Viadio is a European company. As you can imagine from my accent, our headquarters are located in Paris. We have offices all over Europe. We have offices in Paris, of course, London, Madrid, Barcelona in Spain, in Milano, and of course in China, because we want to be as close as possible as where our market is and to address directly our market. I will just take a few minutes of your time to tell you some more things about what is Viadio. After, we will see what you as developers can provide, can offer to Viadio members, and at the end, I will present you our sandbox. But I think this is not the good presentation.
Yeah, that's this one. Sorry. Here you go.
Thanks, Patrick. Well, people are coming on Viadio and are using Viadio for 3 different kinds of use. The first one is the social network features. They will use all the features they can find, of course, on other, even non-professional networks, all the features to build their network. And this is the first reason why they are coming on Viadio. But they will do this, of course, in a professional environment. The second reason why people are coming on Viadio is to use Viadio as a business tool in their daily tasks. For example, we will help sales team to target and to identify their potential and future customers. And the third reason why people are coming on Viadio is to use it as a career management tool, meaning that they will benefit of all the features to help them expose themselves, to help them manage their net reputation, and to help them build the network they will use during all their professional life. We have now more than 5 million members, mainly based in Europe, as we will see later, and in China through our Chinese website, which is tianji.com. Some figures that will show the activity of our platform. We have more than 7,000 new members per day. We have more than 10,000 connections per day. What we have on Viadio is what we call hubs. Hubs are on Viadio what news groups are on the internet, and you can see that we have 1.3 million members registered to our hubs. This is a global picture of the distribution of our members around the world. As said before, you can see that we are very strong in Europe, in France, of course, and in European southern countries, and, of course, in China, where we own Tianji.com, which is the leading Chinese professional social network. If you as developers want to address our population, you will benefit of different points to help you spread your applications. The first one is we are localized in 8 different languages, 7 European ones, and of course Chinese. All our platform, all our features are completely professional-oriented. Of course, you will find among our members all the classical, let's say, industry distribution. And the 2 last things, the 2 last points, and I think those 2 points are really very important for you. when it comes to monetization is that our profiles are what we call A-level profiles, meaning that you will find mainly managers and above, directors and above, and what we call the high revenues profiles. Because when it comes to monetization, when you will want to earn money from your applications, of course, spreading them among millions of users in non-professional networks will help you, will help your application to be known by people. But when you want to address a professional market, it will be easier, much more easier to earn money and to monetize when you address professional users. This slide shows you the distribution of our members between all the industries. Of course, we are representative of what exists in the real world, but we think that you will have an advantage developing vertical apps using open social APIs. You will be able to reach niche population and to add and to bring them your expertise and high added value application if you access directly niche population and you develop vertical applications. Once more a slide to demonstrate how easy will be the monetization when you address professional people. You can see in dark blue the global internet users distribution among the categories interested when we speak about monetization, and in light blue you have the VADO population. As you can see, we have another representation of those kind of population. So now, what kind of application you will be able to provide to our members? Of course, I think that it will be interesting for you to find an application to respond to what they are looking for when they are coming on VADO. They are coming to find customers, partners, suppliers. Of course, they are coming to use VADO as as their business tool. So answering those questions, I think, will be a good point. And the second part of the reason why they are coming on VADO is, of course, the recruitment side and the recruitment features. Now, let me just introduce you our newly open sandbox. I'm proud to say that we are the first professional social network in the world to open and to have a sandbox accessible to you developers. It's very easy to access our sandbox. The first thing you will have is to register to VADO. Of course, this is free. And once registered, you can use the following URL, which is opensocial.vado.com, to directly access our sandbox. You will find in our production site, on the footer of all our pages, a link, which is developer, which will bring you to this page. This page, after one click and less than 1 minute, will allow you to create your developer account. Once you have your developer account, you will be directed on this page, which will show you our directory, where you will find all the already listed applications. Then, if you use the second sub-menu of items, you can access really the sandbox, where you will be able to run not only your own applications, but the application of all the other developers. Very easy to test and to access our sandbox. The only thing you have to do if you want to upload, even if it's not really uploading your application, the only thing you have to do if you want to test your application is to specify the URL of your XML file. Once you've done this, it's automatically online, and you'll be able to test and to see how your application is working on VADO. Last thing, you have a mailing list address, so just send us an email at social@vado.com, and you will be automatically registered on this mailing list, and you will receive all the information you need to help us bring new features to our members. Thanks for your attention, and of course, if you have questions, we'll be available after.
Thanks, Ariel. So if you have some ideas about professional applications, you can get started today, and Again, I kind of expect some new type of apps to be born in professional context. So I'll just skip through that. And then Chris Chabot, who's the main maintainer and creator actually of Shindig PHP, is going to tell you about how to become an open social container.
Hello. I'm a developer advocate at Google, and as Patrick said, I'm also the author of the PHP version of Shindig. Shindig is the answer to the question, how do you become an open social container? When we say an open social container, we mean a social network site, a CRM system, a blog, anything else, where you want to host open social containers in your own website. Shindig is an open social reference implementation. When we say reference implementation, we do really mean a production-ready reference implementation. It's the same software that would power Orchid, iGoogle, High5, and all those other big websites. So it's definitely proven technology. It's an Apache incubator project. That's cool because it's Apache licensed software, which means there's no commercial restrictions on how you can use the source code in your own commercial environment. It's available in Java and PHP. You might think that might be a little bit limited if you're not programming in one of those languages. There's a couple guys here today that are working in Perl and Python. There is a JSON service that you can talk to and just use Shindig as a black box that you install on some server somewhere. You talk to it through a simple post saying, hey, this is the gadget I want to know some information about. And through this methodology, you get all the information back in a JSON structure, so you can use it in any language you want to, even if you're not using Java or PHP yourself. The goal of Shindig is to start hosting open social applications in about an hour. Now, when I say in about an hour, you can install it, you can download it, you can have your first test application up and running in the first couple of minutes. It's really easy to set up. But when you really want to integrate it deeply into your own data structure and you want to get all the little bits and pieces done, it might take a few days or even a few months. If I look at the containers here, I see them shaking yet. It might take a little bit longer. The basic architecture of Shindig is that you have the gadget, and the gadget JavaScript API, which Patrick already talked about. There's the gadget server that does the rendering, and there's the social information as well. The gadget server is the thing that downloads the XML file. You have this application that some developer put online. It retrieves all the metadata from it, things like, hey, what thumbnail should I show? What is the title of this application? All that stuff. It applies the translations, which, as a lot of containers already pointed out, is really important in Europe because there's so many languages you want to be able to deal with here to reach the full audience. It deals with preferences, features, everything else. The end result is that you have a bit of HTML that you include in an iframe in your social network site, and that's the actual gadget. The social server is what the gadget talks to retrieve all the information. So that's the second bit that Shindig provides. It gives you the friend list, it gives you the profiles, the activities, the preferences, everything else. And the cool thing since 0.8, which is the newest release, which is starting to come to production now, is that the RESTful API. Mobile development is a big thing that it will allow because you can just download through the RESTful API all the information you need to make a really cool social application there. Or you can do server-to-server communication. So say that you have a movie review site or you are Amazon.com or any other big website. You have reviews there right now, right? And it shows you, well, this book has got 4 stars. However, what does that mean to me? Because I don't know these people. I don't know their interests, right? Using the RESTful API, Amazon could now download a list of my friends and show me what they thought about it. Maybe their average rating could be completely different, and it will make the information a lot more meaningful. So we have the feeling that this new RESTful API is going to make for some really cool social applications. You can try it out already on iGoogle, on Orchid, and High5. There's a preview version available. Or if you download and install Shindig, here's a little URL in blue where you can try it on your own local Shindig server as well. So when you want to install Shindig and use it to become a container, there's a couple of things you need to do. You need to download it, install it, set up your Tomcat or Apache server, and then you need to integrate the server with your own database backend. To do that, it's actually quite relatively simple. We made it as easy as possible. You only need to implement 3 basic classes. The classes are the people service, the profiles, the friendships or relationships, the activity service, the activity stream, and the application data service, which is how we call the persistent information. The example that you see here is in PHP, but the Java example is actually pretty identical. In those classes, you define a couple of predefined functions of the interface. Here's an example for get activities. All you have to do is query your database backend, take the information, put it in a predefined object. Here you will see the new activity object being created and returned in an array. And that's all you have to do to have up and running Shindig running in your container. Now, you kind of have that small truck at that moment, and you want to scale it out to something a little bit bigger in size, right? So the next step that you do after that is you add the user interface elements to it. You add some developer resources. There's been some good demos here today from our partners. You give them a nice console where they can see all the statistics of the applications. And you want to make sure that you scale out your application platform. When I say scaling it out, I think you want to prevent what you see on the picture there, and that's concurrency issues, slowdowns. As soon as that happens and you get billions of page views a month on your open social applications, you're going to run into trouble. So what you want to do is add a lot of cache, make sure that you don't run into swap files, make sure your database is optimized, database sharding, all the other techniques that you need to do to make sure that you can give a response to a gadget within a fraction of a second. It's an AJAX-type application. And then you have a platform that can really deal with the millions of end users that you might reach. There's a couple of sample containers. If after seeing this you say, well, hey, that's a really good idea. I also want to become a social website. There's a built-in HTML JavaScript example built into Shindig that you can download, get up and running right away without any configuration. There's Partusa, which is written in PHP, if that's the kind of language that you program in. It's fully MySQL, PHP, Apache. So I think for a few developers here, there will be a solid starting point for seeing how would I use PHP Shindig to get up and running. Another example in Java is Sun Social Site. Sun Social Site is a commercial product, but it is open source, which is written in Java, and you can use it to add user interface bits to your website. They have a great demonstration movie where they're making a Wikipedia installation completely social. It uses Shindig in the backend, the Java version of it, and they create the user interface around it to manage your social graph and provide the database. So, quick summary. I'm trying to hurry up through the slides here because we only have about 30 seconds left in our talk. To become an open social container, you can get Shindig, either the PHP or the Java version, whichever you prefer. There's a lot of examples and documentations included in it, which you can read through and get some inspiration for how you can use this software to get up and running. You implement the service classes. There's just 3 of them. It's not that much work, so it's not that bad as you might think. You add some user interface, the gallery, the canvas views, the invites, the notification browsers, everything else. And you take care of your scalability issues, especially if you want to become a really big website like some of our partners here. That's an essential part to look at as well. I collected all the links at the address that you see at the bottom here. That's got all the examples, the mailing list, the Shindig code, and everything else. So if you're interested, that will be a great place to start. Well, I think 1 minute to spare. Perfect. Well, thank you very much for your time, and I'll give it back to Patrick.
Thanks for making it so fast, Chris. So we ran kind of late during this talk. We all took a little bit longer than we should. If you have, so we don't have any time for questions, but if you have any questions, we'll like all the containers that were here and the Googlers, we'll all move to the room over there, like 11B, I think, where there's a code lab for open social. So if you have any questions for us, we'll hang out over there and we can answer many of them there. As a matter of conclusion, basically European developers, there are a bunch of European sites, social sites that have shipped open social. So now just get to work and create some apps. Thanks very much.